Hello interpreters, this is Mason, the interpreter. Today's video is going to be about 3 red flags in any language service providers that you should avoid. Many interpreters who are looking for a remote interpreting position often don't get to know whether the LSP that they're applying to is a good company or not. I have worked with 8 different LSPs so far. Some of them were good and some of them were bad. So using this experience, I will share these 3 red flags so you don't have to go through what I did. Just a heads up, I know many of you want to hear if there are any specific LSPs that I recommend. That unfortunately won't be happening in this video. Why? I will get to that towards the end of this video, so make sure you watch till the end. Well, if you're ready, let's get started. Here is the red flag number 1. Be careful of any LSPs that's brand new. If you simply search up something like remote interpreting or OPI, VRI on websites like LinkedIn or a Facebook group for interpreters, you will often see a job posting like this. Oh, we are hiring OPIs and VRIs in the following language pairs. You can work from home and you just have to be available 20 hours a week, blah, blah, blah. If you dig around, you will see so many LSPs you have never heard of before, always hiring remote interpreters. But wait a minute. Have you ever wondered why or how these companies keep showing up? Let me first explain what it essentially takes to establish a language service providing business. First, you need interpreters to take the calls. Second, you need clients, the companies or businesses that will purchase the interpreting service. And lastly, you need a platform where the interpreters take calls, how payments get processed, and things like that. Of course, this is a very simplified way of explaining it. I'm sure it is much more complicated to establish an LSP in real life. But let me just continue with this simplified version. To get interpreters, LSPs, of course, would have to hire their own interpreters. Hence the reason why we keep seeing those job postings online. Well, let's say they've somehow hired interpreters. The tricky part now is finding clients and building a platform, because this isn't something a new LSP can just establish overnight. So what happens is that they essentially become an outsourcing company for a much larger LSP, which provides the platform and clients. What does that mean? Let me explain. A mega LSP that has been established for many years already will have many clients. One of the issues these mega LSPs face is not having enough interpreters available at certain times of the day, which results in calls being answered late or not answered at all. That is a huge issue for companies because imagine a doctor who needs a Spanish interpreter for this ER patient and they have to wait 30 minutes to get connected to one. That's not going to make the doctor happy, right? So what these mega LSPs do is allocate some of these spillover calls to smaller micro LSPs. These micro LSPs get a percentage of the revenue for taking these calls. But what happens if a micro LSP doesn't get the call or doesn't perform well because their interpreters aren't available or skilled enough? That LSP will be pushed out of the market, and this happens very frequently. In rare cases, some of these micro LSPs eventually start getting their own clients and grow into much larger LSPs. However, many of them just end up getting acquired by other mega LSPs. Essentially, these new LSPs that you see are basically just small parts of larger companies, and there's a good chance that they will fade away from the market, leaving your job at risk. Not to mention the lower rates you will typically receive. But I know working for these small LSPs might be the only choice for some interpreters, especially if they are just starting out their career and have no relevant experience. So I am not necessarily saying that you should always ignore these brand new LSPs, but when you are applying to these companies, at least do your research and try your best not to rely on just one company. Here is the red flag number 2. You are required to work scheduled hours but you get paid per minute. I believe some interpreters think this isn't so bad, especially if you're new. You might not even understand what this means. As many of you know, remote interpreters often work either as freelance interpreters who get paid per minute of the calls they take, or on scheduled shifts that pay per hour of the shifts they are scheduled for. If you're new to the industry and don't know the difference between these two, I have a separate video about it. I highly suggest you watch it at some point. In that video, I discussed the pros and cons of freelance work versus scheduled shifts. Here, I want you to focus on one of the biggest reasons we choose freelance or scheduled shifts. For freelance work, it's flexibility. We can work whenever we want. For scheduled shifts, it's income stability. We know we will get paid for 4, 6, or 8 hours because that's the shift we are scheduled to work. And here is the second red flag that I mentioned. Some companies mix these two options and make the worst out of them. Meaning you will lose your flexibility and the income stability by working this way. No interpreter should be okay with this. If your LSP wants you to take calls from 9 to 3, you should be paid for 6 hours, not just the minutes you're on a call. Only if your LSP allows you to log in and out freely and take calls whenever you can, then you should expect your paycheck to reflect only the minutes you service calls. I hope this makes sense. Lastly, the third red flag, there is a probation or training period that is required. This actually happened to me with one of the companies I worked with. When I applied, they wanted me to take a test to demonstrate my interpreting skills, and when I did, they said, "Oh, you did okay, but you didn't pass the test. Here's what you can do." They told me that they will put me on a training period for a month. During this time, I wouldn't be paid for the calls I took. However, my calls would be monitored and supervised by a trainer who would give me feedback. I instantly said no. Please understand, this is not a genius HR solution. This training period, especially if they're giving you less or no compensation for actual calls that they make money on, is just an exploitation, especially of interpreters who are not experienced yet. Instead, what LSPs should do is either hire experienced and qualified interpreters who can pass their onboarding test, or provide training to interpreter candidates so that they can develop the skills needed for the job. So if you see a company doing this, please share it with other interpreters and do yourself a favor, say no and move on. Because after I said no, just a few months later, the company reached out to me saying that they will let me work. Well, I said, okay. And I eventually worked there for like almost 10 months, but eventually I got terminated from them. Do you want to take a wild guess which LSP that was? Yes, that was Voice, now called Equity. Since I posted videos about Voice Equity's recent mass termination, I have received so many messages, especially from people asking if I can recommend any other LSPs, or about my experience and opinion on specific LSPs. If you have sent me similar messages or left such comments on my videos before, I am sure you have heard me say that I don't give any LSP recommendations. That's because in the past, I did recommend a company when someone asked me to, but they later came to me saying the company I recommended mistreated them, and they blamed me for recommending the company. So I have learned that my experience doesn't necessarily always align with others, but if you are really curious about what other LSPs are out there, you can check my LinkedIn page to see all the LSPs that I currently work with. Also, the Facebook group I mentioned earlier, called US Medical Interpreters, has a pinned post that has a list of LSPs that are hiring. I highly recommend checking out this group if you haven't already. I think it is a great place for interpreters to connect and communicate with each other, thanks to Kelly, who runs the group. That is it for today's video. I really hope this video helped. Thank you for watching once again, and interpreter disconnected. Bye-bye. Oh, actually, I have one more thing that I want to say before you go. I started this channel because I wanted to create a place for me to connect and communicate with other interpreters and hopefully share as much as I know with others who want to learn. I am really grateful that you are watching this video and to all of my subscribers, but I will be honest, as I get more and more subscribers, I've started receiving way too many messages, comments, and emails to answer all of them by myself. As you can see, I'm not a robot. I'm not an AI. I'm not even a full-time YouTuber. I'm a person with a family. I'm an interpreter who still works as a remote interpreter for a living during the day and works on making YouTube videos at night. So I want to take this opportunity to apologize if I don't leave a reply to any of your comments. I'm really sorry, but please know that I am not ignoring you on purpose. Luckily for me, there is a solution. YouTube has a membership function where people can support me to keep making videos like this. I know some people might not like this idea and criticize me for trying to make money off of this, but I'm gonna be realistic here. I do need money if I want to keep making videos, and I really do want to keep making videos for other interpreters. At the same time, I don't want to make exclusive content only for people who can give me money. So I have been thinking about how to utilize this membership function, and this is what I've decided. I'm going to make just one level of membership, which is called Interpreter. It's $1.99 per month, and as I said, you don't get anything special in terms of exclusive videos or content, but I will prioritize answering your questions in the comments if you are willing to support me as a fellow interpreter. This will really help me a lot so I can focus on making more videos. Oh, and also you will get these cute interpreter emoji stickers that you can see in the comments. I made them myself and I named it Terpy Terp. I hope you like them. If you like my videos and if you are willing to support what I do on my channel, please kindly join the membership and consider being my fellow interpreter. Thank you so much for listening to this bit, and I will see you in the next video, this time for real. Interpreter disconnecting. Bye-bye.